Miguel Santos doesn't always agree with his sister Maya.
That's a great idea!
No, 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 no.
But she's willing to change his mind.
Oh, please, please, Miguelito. Oops.
You get used to her. Eventually.
Watch Maya and Miguel every day on PBS Kids Go.
Wow, that's a pretty good idea.
Join us for OPB's Member Day at the World Forestry Center Discovery Museum, Sunday, April 29th, 10 to 4 p.m. There will be fun activities for all ages and a stunning exhibit of jungle photos by Franz Lanting. Admission for OPB members is 2 adults for 1, and kids are free. Just bring your coupon from the April Member Guide. Visit opb.org or call 1-800-241-8123 for more.
I've been documenting wild places for decades.
I travel the world with a camera, trying to reveal its subjects in new ways. My mission is to make people care. For me, beauty is diversity.
I'm Art Wolf. Join me on Travels to the Edge.
Shop OPB.org. Find the best of OPB. Programs, books, music, and more. Members get a 10% discount. Shop OPB.org. SAFE. Since 1914, SAFE has been protecting Oregon workers and making Oregon a safer place to work.
Adding fuel to the fire on Wall Street, a slew of better-than-expected earnings reports puts investors in a buying mood today and boosts the outlook for future profits from corporate America. That sends the Dow up more than 150 points, posting its third record high for the week.
Air travelers fed up with poor treatment and try to get Congress to lay down the law on a passenger's Bill of Rights. But some in the airline industry say it's feel-good legislation that will do no good.
It's a chip off the H&R Block. The tax preparer is selling its subprime mortgage unit and getting far less money than it wanted. We'll tell you who's buying.
And tonight's Market Monitor guest says the bull still has room to run thanks to the weak U.S. dollar. She's Elaine Garzarelli, president of Garzarelli Capital.
I'm Paul Kangan.
And I'm Susie Garib. This is Nightly Business Report for Friday, April 20th.
Nightly Business Report is made possible by
A.G. Edwards. Objective financial advice can help make sure your nest egg is ready when retirement arrives. A.G. Edwards, fully invested in our clients.
Franklin Templeton Investments, providing a unique perspective through the specialized investment expertise of Franklin Templeton Mutual Series and Fiduciary Trust. Franklin Templeton Investments, gain from our perspective.
This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. The Dow made a strong run at 13,000 today, closing at a new record high. The blue chip average surged 153 points to 12,961. The Nasdaq jumped 21 points. Powering today's rally, another batch of strong earnings reports from corporate America, including better than expected earnings from Dow Components, Caterpillar, and Honeywell. Even though only a quarter of S&P 500 companies have reported their earnings, Wall Street analysts are already boosting their growth projections. Scott Gervey reports.
Wall Street's earnings outlook was bleak when the season began. Analysts had dropped their year-over-year forecast to just 3.3% growth for the S&P 500. They were once looking for 9%. This week, they changed their minds again. As a long string of better-than-expected first-quarter reports came in, analysts surveyed by Thomson First Call raised their estimates day by day, with their consensus for earnings growth reaching 5.2% today. Michael Thompson, Director of Research at Thomson Financial, says he expects to see 7% growth by the time all the reports are in.
Expectations were led lower. Analysts were very, very conservative. If you just look at the 130-plus companies that have reported today of the S&P 500, that's just over a quarter. It's amazing because most of those companies have beat, on average, past 10% on the earnings line and over 9% increase in terms of growth on the revenue line.
Expectations for the second quarter are still a low 3.5%, but analysts are looking to see a rapid acceleration in earnings growth as the year continues, reaching 12% in the first quarter of next year. For investors, strong earnings growth is the best predictor of market performance over the long term. Michael Metz, chief investment strategist at Oppenheimer, says a near-term correction is likely, but his long-run forecast is bullish.
You have sort of a synchronized boom in developed and developing nations, and even though the U.S. slows down, worldwide, this should be another great year, and I think that's being reflected in stocks. Remember, the big capitalization stocks in America are multinational. They really depend on growth as much overseas as domestically. So as far as their overseas operations, exports are concerned, the outlook is good almost regardless of the slowdown in the U.S.
Historically, earnings have grown at an average 7% rate, just about where Thomson First Call believes this quarter will end up. Scott Gervey, Nightly Business Report, New York.
Wall Street's blue chips charged into higher ground right out of the starting gate on those stronger earnings, sending the Dow to a 120-point gain after an hour of trading, while the Nasdaq was up 22 points. Gains in overseas markets kept the rally alive. The Dow easily broke above the 12,900 level with frantic short covering, so the industrial average closed at a record high for the third straight day. The Dow gained 153.35 at 12,961.98 today. It rose every day this week for an advance overall of 349.85 points. The Nasdaq Composite rose 21.04, ending at 2526.39 today. It gained twice but fell three times this week, still had a net gain of 34.45 points overall. Standard & Poor's 500 index closed up 13.62 at 1484.35 today. Over in the bond market, the 10-year note fell 2/30 seconds to 99 and 19/30 seconds, putting the yield at 4.68%.
American investors could have a say in deciding what corporate chieftains get paid. The U.S. House voted today to let shareholders of public companies participate in a yearly non-binding vote on executive compensation. The measure also calls for an additional vote if a company awards a golden parachute to top brass while they're negotiating the firm's purchase or sale. It now goes to the Senate, where passage is iffy. The plan is opposed by the White House, which says the government shouldn't be involved in executive pay decisions.
Also in Congress today, a debate over how the airline industry treats its passengers. At the center of discussion is a controversial passenger Bill of Rights suggested after a tough winter of flight snags for the major airlines. But as Stephanie Dew explains, there are questions about whether that type of bill will fly.
Stranded passengers, overbooked planes, and canceled flights have lawmakers considering a new passenger Bill of Rights. Kate Hani was trapped on the runway on an American Airlines plane for 9 hours in December. She turned her anger into advocacy and today urged lawmakers to hold the industry accountable.
The airlines made commitments which they haven't kept, And why should they? There are no consequences for their actions. The DOT forgives most of the fines imposed, so they are virtually meaningless.
The passenger Bill of Rights under discussion would let stuck passengers get off a plane after 3 hours on the ground. It would also require airlines to provide food, drinking water, and adequate restroom facilities to stranded passengers. JetBlue established its own customer rights agreement after grounding thousands of passengers over Valentine's Day weekend. CEO David Neeleman says putting a passenger Bill of Rights into law could have unintended consequences.
On just a good day in New York in the summertime, you can have taxi out times of an hour, hour and a half. We get a thunderstorm that will come over the field and close departures for a couple of hours. It would be very easy to have somebody on a plane over a 3-hour period of time. And to the extent that our pilots were mandated to bring people back to the gate at that limit, chaos would reign.
Back in 1999, the major airlines promised to voluntarily improve their customer service. But in an audit last year, the Department of Transportation found that only 5 of the 12 airlines had systems in place to honor the agreement. Committee Chairman Jerry Costello says he will make sure the airlines live up to their promises now.
The bottom line is that either they're going to address the problem or we are.
But it may not take new legislation to enforce better customer service. Lawmakers are also calling on the Department of Transportation to take a tougher approach. Stephanie Dew, Nightly Business Report, Washington.
As we reported at the top of tonight's program, earnings are a critical factor for Wall Street. One key element in reporting earnings is guidance, a company's own forecast of its performance. Guidance numbers are eagerly awaited by investors, but increasingly, companies are questioning the benefit of short-term targets. Tonight, as we wrap up our series, Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Earnings, Suzanne Pratt looks at the issue of quarterly earnings guidance.
Net sales grew 6%. Segment operating profits increased 9%.
On General Mills' earnings conference call last month, company management gave Wall Street plenty of financial information. But one thing General Mills CFO Jim Lawrence did not provide was quarterly earnings guidance. That's the controversial practice of a company making public predictions about its future earnings per share. Lawrence says focusing on those specific numbers is a bad idea.
I think that what companies need to do is to drive performance for their shareholders, to drive real economic wealth. And that is not necessarily represented by EPS, be it for the year or the quarter. And to the degree that companies have set up a quarterly target of EPS and then try to hit that, I think that's a mistake.
General Mills is part of a growing list of large companies that do not give quarterly earnings guidance. Some of the biggest names include Coca-Cola, Walt Disney, and ExxonMobil. According to the National Investor Relations Institute, the number of companies that supply guidance slipped to 66% last year from 71% in 2005. Guidance became a corporate habit in the late 1990s after Congress passed legislation protecting companies from liability for performance forecasts. But in the last few years, many companies have concluded the quarterly practice does more harm than good. CFA Institute Managing Director Kurt Schacht says the problem is that guidance encourages obsessive attention to short-term goals.
The company will tell you specifically they should make 6 cents over the next quarter, a range of what earnings should be over the next quarter, and then they spend the next 90 days doing everything they possibly can to make sure that they're at or above that earnings guidance.
Other experts believe doing that breeds bad behavior in boardrooms and accounting departments. Although an extreme case, WorldCom is a frequently cited example of executives crossing the line to hit their numbers. Nevertheless, quarterly guidance does have supporters in corporate America and on Wall Street. They contend no guidance means more earnings surprises and leads to greater stock price volatility. Intel, which released earnings earlier this week, does not make EPS projections, but it does provide quarterly revenue guidance. CFO Andy Bryant explains why.
Intel believes that what we can do to help our owners, for the general public, understand the company is a positive. We think we can best do that if we're talking to shareholders, potential shareholders, and if we're keeping quiet about it. Certainly, I can see positives and negatives, but we clearly believe the more we can share about our business, the better off everybody will be.
In fact, it was the most profitable first quarter in the company's history.
BMO Capital Markets analyst Victor Lazarovich says there's nothing wrong with a company going out on a limb about its future.
I think guidance is helpful, and I think it also makes management focus on the short term. It's helpful to analysts and the investing public because you get a sense of where management thinks the business is going.
If a company doesn't give guidance, Wall Street analysts will still make their own projections. Lehman Brothers retail analyst Alan Rifkin admits he has to work harder to evaluate those companies that don't supply guidance.
It's a little more difficult in that you're not getting your hand held, but that's really where the opportunity lies, and that the analysts who uncover more stones and do more due diligence on their own quite often are ahead of the folks who were solely reliant on company managements telling you exactly what they would earn.
Guidance is just one aspect of earnings season. As we learned this week, investors should closely scrutinize earnings reports and listen to what companies have to say about them. Armed with that information, investors should be able to make better investment choices. Suzanne Pratt, Nightly Business Report, New York.
Now let's take a look at some stocks in the news tonight. The most active New York exchange issue, trading 35.2 million shares, was Pfizer, losing a dime a share. First quarter earnings, excluding restructuring charges, came in at 68 cents. And that was 11 cents above the street estimate. But the problem was the company cut 2007 earnings guidance and warned that its Novask and Lipitor drugs sales are being hurt by tough competition. General Electric up 13 cents. ExxonMobil had a good day, up $2.30. Oil was strong, and incidentally, Exxon earnings are due out next Thursday. Bank of America up 13 cents. Advanced Micro Devices down 12 cents a share. AT&T gained 56 cents. Citigroup up 33 cents. Ford Motor a penny rise, and then EMC down 3 cents. Kraft Foods a 24-cent gain. American Express up $2.05. First quarter earnings 88 cents, up from 70 cents last year and 8 cents better than the street was expecting. Nice move in the stock. Caterpillar up $3.20. First quarter earnings $1.23, up from last year's $1.20, 15 cents above the street consensus, and the company boosted its 2007 earnings guidance. General Motors a 31-cent gain. The company is requesting a delisting from the London Stock Exchange in order to cut costs, part of its cost-cutting program. Honeywell International, yet another Dow stock, up $2.34. First quarter earnings 66 cents, 4 cents above the street estimate, and up from 52 cents a year ago. The company also boosted its 2007 earnings estimates and the amount by 15 cents. McDonald's down 42 cents, one of only two losers in the Dow 30. Pfizer was the other one. Even though McDonald's had first quarter earnings of 62 cents, up from 49 a year ago, that was in line with estimates. Revenues up a better than expected 11%. The company is going to sell 1,600 of its stores to Latin America, to a franchise group. H&R Block, a 73-cent gain. The company is selling its subprime unit called Option 1 Mortgage to Cerberus Capital for anywhere from $1 billion to $700 million. The whole company was hoping to get $1.3 billion. Genesco, the footwear company, up $6.57. Foot Locker has made a buyout offer of $46 a share. Foot Locker stock edged up 59 cents. Capital Bancorp Limited plunging $6.40, just like first quarter earnings plunged to 36 cents from 61 a year ago, 28 cents below the street estimate. The company cited challenges in the Great Lakes region for the sharp drop. Mentor Corp, which makes medical instruments, plunging $8.25. Company cut 2007 sales estimate from as much as $315 million to as little as $300 million. Robert Half, the staffing company, down $3.31. First quarter earnings 42, up from 38 last year, but that was 4 cents below the street estimate. And the Stifel Nicholas brokerage downgraded it from hold to a sell. And Oakley, which makes eyewear products, had a real big first quarter, 8 cents in earnings versus only 3 cents last year. Sales jumped 31%. Company boosted 2007 guidance, too. Google topped the active list on NASDAQ, up $10.83 after those great earnings yesterday. 35-cent gain in Intel. Microsoft, 33-cent rise. Apple, a 70-cent gain. Cisco, up 31 cents a share. Yahoo, down a nickel, 35-cent loss in Amgen. Qualcomm, 8-cent gain. eBay, 33-cent rise. And Oracle, a 24-cent gain. Epicept up $1.67. The company's study of its Azixa product shows promise in treating brain tumors. And Factory Card and Party Outlet up $2.67. Fourth quarter earnings of 7 cents versus a loss of 38 cents a share a year ago. Those are the stocks in the news tonight. Susie?
Paul, Research in Motion says this week's BlackBerry blackout was caused by new software that wasn't properly tested. Millions of BlackBerry users were without wireless email access on Tuesday. RIM has ruled out security issues along with hardware failure as the cause of the disruption. The company says it's improving testing and monitoring to keep this type of outage from happening again.
Monday, we tour Toyota's new Indiana factory and look at the automaker's efforts to keep growing in the United States.
Here's a look at what's happening next week. Our Friday Market Monitor guest is John Hughes, president of Quantum Capital Management. On the economic calendar, Tuesday, March existing home sales are released. Wednesday, March new home sales and the weekly report on crude oil and gasoline inventories. Thursday, weekly jobless claims. And as for earnings, Dow Components, AT&T, Boeing, ExxonMobil, 3M, and Microsoft report their numbers next week.
My guest market monitor this week is Elaine Garzarelli, president of Garzarelli Capital, and welcome back to Nightly Business Report, Elaine.
Nice to be here, Paul.
During our last several visits, you've been decidedly bullish on the U.S. stock market, and given these recent new highs, including today, correctly so. You told us the U.S. economy had rarely been in such good shape as in recent times. Any change in your position? Is the stock market getting ahead of reality?
No. Actually, the stock market is catching up with where it should have been last year, and we think it has a lot further to go.
Where do your widely followed 14 market indicators stand now?
Well, bullish reading is 65%, and they're at 67%. 30% would be a major sell signal, and 42% would be a correction greater than 4 to 7%.
So you're still quite bullish?
Definitely. Best economy I've ever seen.
Okay. When you were here last in October, you said the housing slump was basically over, but it has gotten a bit worse, hasn't it? And has it bottomed finally?
Yeah. The mortgage rates are down, 30-year mortgage rates down 100 basis points, and I think housing now is flattening out, and it should start to turn up later this year into 2008 modestly.
Okay. How about oil prices?
Oil prices would be bearish for my indicators if they went to $100 a barrel, or if the 10-year bond yield, currently at 4.7%, went up another 300 basis points.
So you took away my question. I was going to ask you what would turn you bearish, and apparently that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in that visit in October, you recommended 4 stocks. Let's see how they've done since then. We see Dow Chemical up 16.1%. Good call. Intel even moved up 7.4%. So you're ahead of the game there. There were two others. Hovnanian, the home builder, down nearly 15%. That's understandable. And are you still with it?
Well, Hovnanian, we sold at the end of December for a 25% gain.
Oh, you
and
did?
And now you're getting close to a point where you might want to buy it back.
Okay, and Altria Group indicates an 11.5% loss, but that doesn't take into account the spinoff of Kraft, which would put you in a profitable position, correct?
Yeah, it would be up 17%.
Right.
And I think what we're recommending now is to keep Philip Morris and sell Kraft, because Kraft is overvalued, we believe.
Okay, that's clear enough. How about some new recommendations, Elaine?
Okay, I've got some. Now, I think the strongest areas of the economy will be capital spending, exports, and I think the dollar will continue weak. So the first stock I like is Caterpillar Tractor,
right.
50% foreign sales. I also like, in the capital spending area...
Wait a minute, let's get the next one up on the chart here. Caterpillar just had a good day today, too. Okay, yes. Now we see the iShares of Goldman Sachs in the semiconductor industry.
Right. 80% of sales are foreign, and that includes Texas Instruments, Motorola, and Intel, plus some other semiconductor stocks as well.
This is an exchange-traded fund, ETF.
This is an exchange-traded fund,
okay.
Right? And you can buy and sell it all day long. The next one is the pharmacy holders, and that's also an exchange-traded fund.
Mm-hmm. It's had a sharp rise just recently. You're not afraid of that recent...
No, because it's down 27% from its all-time high in 2001. So it's still excellent, excellent value, and also a big beneficiary of a weakening dollar.
Okay.
And
that's your theme here, a weakening dollar is good for exporters, right?
It is.
Okay.
People are worried about a weakening dollar. I like it.
Okay.
Just don't crash. Just be weak.
Do we have another one?
Moderately weak. And the last one would be Lehman Brothers. And I'm very familiar with that particular stock. It's down 10% just recently, and it's definitely lean and mean and one of the best banking companies. So with a bullish stock market outlook, the brokerage stocks should be wonderful, wonderful performers.
Do you personally own any of these stocks?
I own them all.
Okay, and the ETFs included?
Yes.
Okay. Elaine, I want to thank you for being with us once again.
We'll My pleasure on such a nice day.
There you go. You like that 153-point gain.
I love it, and have a good weekend. It'll make everybody happy.
Thanks, Elaine. My guest, Elaine Garzarelli of Garzarelli Capital.
And recapping today's market action, the Dow closes in on the 13,000 mark with a gain of more than 153 points. The Nasdaq racked up 21 points. To learn more about the stories in tonight's broadcast, to watch our streaming video, and to take part in our daily blog, go to Nightly Business Report on pbs.org. You can also email us at nbr@pbs.org. And finally tonight, while literary purists may protest, there's a new theme park in the works outside of London celebrating the life of Charles Dickens, his books, and best-loved characters. The folks behind Dickens World are transforming a 70,000-square-foot warehouse into a theme park featuring the cobblestone streets and storefronts of 19th century England. Among the park's features, a water ride, the haunted house of Ebenezer Scrooge, and a 4D animatronic theater review of Dickens' life. And Paul, while I know you have great expectations for Dickens World, its opening has been delayed until the end of May.
I hope it's not because of hard times.
And that's Nightly Business Report for Friday, April 20th. I'm Susie Garrett. Have a great weekend, everyone, and the same to you, Paul.
And you as well, Susie. I'm Paul Kangas, wishing all of you the best of goodbyes.
Nightly Business Report is made possible by
Franklin Templeton Investments. Our unique perspective helps us see domestic and international markets in a different light. Franklin Templeton Investments. Gain from our perspective.
A.G. Edwards. Objective financial advice can help you build a better nest egg. A.G. Edwards.